Hi there, my name is Margaret Bannon. I am both a teacher of tennis and yoga, and today we're going to blend these two worlds and practicing a little yoga for tennis in the form of meditation and doing a little meditation in watching the ball. Okay, so all you need for today's practice is a comfortable place to sit. I'm seated on the ground, so that's why you see me elevating my hips so that I can be a little more comfortable in my body, so that I can maintain focus a little more easily. But you could do this practice seated in a chair as well. You also need a tennis ball. So today I have a tennis ball from my alma mater, Miami University, where I got to play tennis for 4 years. And I also recently got to work with the tennis team, the current team, and leading them through a yoga practice in January of 2020 as they were here for their winter training camp. So anyway, let's get started. Basically, the reason why I wanted to do this meditation is that I work with my clients, my tennis clients, on watching the ball, and this seems like such a generic cue, but it really isn't. So most people think that they're watching the ball, however, they're not really focusing in on the ball. For example, we want to see that ball come off of our opponent's rackets. That gives us lots of clues, right? How high the ball is over the net might indicate depth. We might start to see the pattern at which the ball is spinning. That tells us a lot about how the ball might bounce. And so we pick up a lot in really focusing in on the ball. So it might be in coming off of an opponent's racket, and it might be in watching the seams of the ball. More recently, I've had students look at the writing of the ball as well, as that might be a little easier to see. And it's really just a nice technique to focus in on the ball when you might not be sure what's happening in your game and the mind is scattered. And a lot of times we have what we need within us. We just need to find a little more focus and allow all of that brilliance to come through. So when we work on keeping the eyes on the ball, I like to start off really slowly. I'll have students drop feed balls to themselves, and then I will toss balls to them, and then eventually I'll feed with my racket before we do some points. So it's a natural progression. So because of that, it really makes sense for me to do a meditation to watch the ball without it moving at all. So in essence, this should be the easiest form of watching the ball when it's in stillness. But as these things are, some of these more subtle practices aren't as easy as they might seem. So I would suggest to maybe do this for about 5 minutes of time. You could just set your smartphone. Maybe you do it before you go out onto the tennis court, as if you're setting that intention to watch the ball a little more clearly. Today we'll do that for a shorter period of time. So what I'll do is I'll just place this ball out in front of me. And again, I want to make sure that I'm comfortable in my seat. So I like to see that I'm a little more upright on my sit bones. Of course, you could support your body in addition to what you see me doing. And then I'm just going to relax my hands on my legs. And I'm actually going to adjust this ball a little bit. Maybe have the ball out in front of you so that you can be gazing at it in front of you, but without maybe tilting the head excessively in one direction or another. So first things first, I'm just going to have my eyes on the ball, as you would as well. And you're going to see, what can you notice about that ball? So a lot of obvious things. It's yellow, although depending on the ball that you're working with, it might be a little brighter, might be a little more dull in color. You might notice the fuzz on the ball. You can notice the seams of the ball. Any writing on the ball, so any colors. And the main thing here is that we want to notice all of these things. So I've got my eyes open and really watching this ball. And as we notice these things, we want to do so without creating a story behind what we discover. In other words, as I see the M on my tennis ball, I'm not going back into my glory days, recalling my days at Miami, but really I'm just noticing, and that's as far as it goes. Some of you might find it helpful to also feel your breath in combination to this focus. So for example, if I were to catch myself in creating a story behind something that I see related to this ball, I could take a breath and then let go of the thought that came to mind. The idea here is that you're focusing in on the ball, seeing it in stillness. Real work is in catching yourself when your mind goes to anything else beyond the ball that you're focusing on. So no need to get frustrated. That's a good sign when you notice. That means that you're being present. And so we'll practice this just for a couple more moments, just really focusing in on the ball. Noticing how challenging that might be today. As if you're setting the intention for the next time you go out onto the court to watch the ball a little more clearly. Once you've spent some time with this, you would just slowly come on out and maybe spend a couple moments in transition before you move on to the next thing you'll be going on to. And my experience has been, the more you practice watching the ball, the more you realize the more you really haven't been watching the ball. So, play around with that. Again, it seems obvious, like, oh yeah, I watched the ball. But are you really focusing in on the ball? And you'll start to notice, when you make an error, hopefully you start to notice, oh yeah, I really wasn't focusing in on the ball. My mind was on X, Y, and Z. All of these thoughts, right? All of these thoughts, when we have too many of them in our practices and in our play, can become quite paralyzing. And most of the time we just need to simplify. So work on this ball watching skill in the form of a little mini meditation, maybe for 5 minutes before you go out and play, as setting an intention to improve your tennis practice. And it's a skill that's developed over time. Little by little, you get better and better at this skill. I'd love to know if you try it out, how it works for you and what challenges you might come up with. And I'll certainly be adding more practices to this YouTube channel. So please look out for that. Thank you for practicing a little yoga for tennis with me today. Namaste.